When Drupal gets a request, it produces a response object that is sent back to the client. The output is typically generated by a piece of code called a controller. Although a controller can be a PHP function, a method, or an object, in Drupal 8, the best practice is to use a controller class. So when we create our controller, we'll use the controller base to access some utility methods and the container, which reduces the amount of code written to get the results out of the database and into a table display. One of the great things with Drupal is that it really does minimize the number of queries that you actually have to make to the database. And so we'll extend the controller base by using the load method and the report method to both load and display the results in a table. So because we're building a new controller, we need to have a controller directory. So inside RSVP list, inside src, go ahead and create a new folder called controller, please. And inside the controller directory, go ahead and create a new file called report controller.php. So in this file, we're going to create a report controller class to extend the controller base. We always start off with PHP and our comments. So for this exercise, there's a lot of typing. This is just part of it. What I'm going to do is put it up on the screen, get you to pause the video and type it out. But before you do that, let me explain what's going on here. You remember our report controller is going to extend controller base, and that's what this line here does, line 15. Then, again, we comment out our code and call a protected function where we load the database and select the table RSVP list as R. Then we join the user table to it, the user field data table, as U, joined where RSVP list UID equals the user field data UID. And then we again join the node field data field as N to the node ID in each table, selecting these specific fields out of the database and then executing the query. If you've done PHP in the past and used MySQL queries, this is going to be a little bit different, but the principles are exactly the same. Go ahead and pause the video, type that up, and when you're ready, continue. So this is the last part of report controller.php. Go ahead and add the comments. Let me explain what this file does, and then we'll pause the video again. Public function report, content is an array, the message has a translatable string. This T function is important. If you're ever going to have a multilingual site, you need to have all of your strings as translatable. Below is a list, etc., etc., etc. The headers go into an array of name, event, and email. And then each row is grabbed from the database and put into an array using the Drupal function component utility safe markup. Check that it's plain text for the dollar entry, and then put the content into the table array, type as a table, the headers, the rows, and no entries available. And then this last part here is telling Drupal to not cache the page, and then return $content, which actually prints everything out to the page with 2 curly brackets at the end. All right, get those comments in, and then I'm just going to slide this down and pause the video and finish filling this out. All right, go ahead and flush your cache. Head over to your Welcome to Drupal Module Development node, and go ahead in the block, go ahead and make sure you RSVP. Once you've done that, head over to Reports and List of RSVP Submissions, and you should see your name, the event, and the email. Of course, we're doing this on articles, not events, but you get the idea. If this worked, fantastic. If not, just rewind the video, double check your code, and then finish up. All right, fantastic.